Hello, my name is Gokey Gamer, coach of the Milwaukee Medichams, and this is log number 5 of testing the power of these Paradox Pokemon for Professor Turo. I have been recruited by the professor to help gather intel on these iron Pokemon by battling with them in the Soul Dew Association, and in exchange I have been promised a championship title as these Pokemon are just that powerful. This week we're going to be going up against none other than Laburrito and the Los Angeles Lanturns. I've heard tales of how tough this opponent can be, and considering that the first Pokemon they drafted was their 2-pointer, I am inclined to believe those tales. Lamb's team actually is a Sun team consisting of Dedenne, Gholdengo, Walking Wake, Ninetales, Venusaur, Necrozma, Slither Wing, Gastrodon, Talonflame, and Porygon 2. The Terra types are the 2-pointer I mentioned earlier, being Dedenne with Terra Electric, Stellar, and Fairy, as well as Slither Wing with Terra Fire, Grass, and Dragon. Unironically, Dedenne has been used expertly by my opponent as it has yet to faint on the battlefield as it's already been brought twice, and Lamb's Necrozma, Porygon 2, and his Sun team with mons like Walking Wake, Ninetales, Slither Wing, and Venusaur is particularly scary as well. In terms of what I'm expecting to show up, I'm expecting Slither Wing, Talonflame, Porygon 2, Walking Wake, Ninetales, and Venusaur. My opponent has got quite the scary team, so we're going to have to bring our best to this match, meaning that indeed, we are bringing all 4 of our iron threats. Without any further ado, let's talk about what I'm bringing and why I'm bringing it. The first Pokemon that we're going to be bringing is our dedicated lead, Hawaiian Pizza, the Iron Moth. Holding the Assault Vest this week with max special attack and speed to outspeed Walking Wake, we've got the moves Fiery Dance, Sludge Wave, Energy Ball, and Discharge. While holding the Assault Vest, Iron Moth can take any one hit on the special side. The only attack that can really one-shot me is an Earthquake from Gastrodon or Necrozma. And combined with our 4 attacks, we can hit nearly everything super effectively or simply nuke a Pokemon with one of our stab attacks. No matter what, something will fall to this Iron Pokemon. The next Iron Pokemon that we've got on this team is the endgame sweeper Iron Crown. Hoping for a redemption after their disastrous week 2 performance, this week we've got the moves Tachyon Cutter, Agility, Calm Mind, and Store Power. Yep, we're running a weakness policy set this week. With enough speed to outspeed both Gholdengo at our base speed and Chlorophyll Venusaur, as well as a speed boosting Walking Wake at +2, our goal with this set is to survive a super effective attack from something like Ninetales, Venusaur, or Talonflame, then sweep the rest of the team with stored power as nothing will be able to outspeed this behemoth. Now granted, even the +2 buff to special attack won't be enough to defeat threats like Gholdengo and Mandibuzz, but if those Pokemon get chipped down enough, then it's lights out to our opponent as nothing will want to tag in against the Crown. The third Ironmon that we'll be discussing here is Iron Thorns. Bringing a physically defensive set this week, specifically for a physical Talonflame, this week we've got the Terra Electric type in the moves Stone Edge, Supercell Slam, Dragon Dance, and Earthquake, with max defense and enough speed to outspeed Talonflame at +1. The combination of Rock, Ground, and Terra boosted electric attacks is enough to fall basically all of my opponent's Pokemon, especially with the help from the Rocky Helmet. This set in particular is meant to break down a physical Talonflame or even possibly sweep if either Talonflame doesn't show, or if it does, but it's a special set. We all know how powerful Mechagodzilla is at this point, so I'm excited to witness their carnage once again. After Mechagodzilla is our final Iron Pokemon, Iron Valiant. This week, once again, we're holding the booster energy to help boost our attack this time. We've got the moves Spirit Break, Knock Off, Swords Dance, and Close Combat. Long story short, once Talonflame goes down, this set can deal a lot of damage against the entirety of my opponent's team, as they outspeed everything that doesn't have their speed boosted or scarfed. In hindsight, I probably should have run a booster speed set, but I digress. I will say I'm particularly excited to use all 4 of our Ironmons this week, and while spoilers, we aren't bringing Pincurchin this week, perhaps our final 2 Pokemon will help round out this team. Speaking of those 2 Pokemon, the first one we're bringing is our special Talonflame answer, as well as our Walking Wake answer, Derp the Quagsire. Holding the Citrus Berry this week for boosted recovery if I ever end up with less than half HP, this week we've got the moves Earth Power, Toxic, Rain Dance, and Stealth Rock with max HP and special defense, alongside the ability Water Absorb this week to help prevent Walking Wake from running rampant. This set is meant to put a stop to any weather shenanigans. While it doesn't necessarily help any of our team members offensively, it absolutely helps out defensively against major threats like Slither Wing, Venusaur, and Ninetales. Earth Power is there for Gholdengo, Toxic is there for General Chip as well as for walls like Gastrodon and Mandibuzz, and Stealth Rock is there because it looks extremely solid against my opponent's entire team. And of course, Rain Dance is there to prevent any sun shenanigans that my opponent might bring. Granted, Gholdengo could cause some issues, but considering I do have solid threats against it with my Iron Mons and the sun heavily works against it, I'm not too concerned about it showing up. And finally, to finish off the team, we've got our other Tera captain, Carboniferous the Yanmega. Similar to some sets we've brought in the past, we're holding the Throat Spray once again, and we've got the moves Bug Buzz, Air Slash, Tailwind, and Giga Drain. This time we've got the Tera Bug type, as well as the modest max special attack nature and enough speed to outspeed both Gholdengo at the base speed, as well as Chlorophyll Venusaur with a Tailwind up. Similar to Titanium, Carboniferous is meant to outspeed everything and win the game once everything is chipped down enough, as not much wants to take a +1 Tera Bug Tinted Lens Bug Buzz. I've got high hopes for this pick this week, alongside all of the other Iron ones as well. And that is the complete team we're bringing for this match. I definitely want redemption after our first loss of the season, so hopefully we'll be able to pick up a win here and continue our domination in this league. Without any further ado, let's go ahead and head into the battle. Heading into the match, I immediately noticed that both Talonflame and Gholdengo didn't show up to this match, meaning that both Iron Crown and both of my Tera captains look absolutely phenomenal here. Perhaps this will be the redemption of Titanium. In the meantime, I put my plan into action by leading Iron Moth as my opponent leads with the most ideal Pokemon, Venusaur. Not only do we naturally outspeed this Pokemon and can possibly even pick up the KO with a Fiery Dance, even if we don't pick up the KO, there's still a pretty great chance we can live in Earth Power from a Timid Life Orb set, which is one of the most common Venusaur sets in the game. As a result, I can freely fire off a Fiery Dance as even Flash Fire Ninetales isn't an issue for Assault Vest Iron Moth, as my opponent switches Venusaur out into, unsurprisingly, Gastrodon, and unfortunately we don't get the boost. Since Gholdengo was a no-show in this battle, Hawaiian Pizza's main role is to damage as many things as possible, give us momentum, and then eventually fall to an incoming switch. Because of that, despite the fact that Gastrodon could be holding the Rindo Berry and KO me in return with an Earthquake, I decide to simply fire off an Energy Ball, which does end up picking up the KO versus the Green and Blue Slug, putting us in an extremely advantageous position as one of the heavier walls of the team ends up going down. This causes my opponent to bring in Slither Wing next, so expecting a Tera type to pop off, I decide to click Sludge Wave, predicting the Tera Dragon or Assault Vest. But what ends up happening is Slither Wing picking up the KO with an Earthquake. Wait a second, Slither Wing shouldn't outspeed. Oh wait, they're scarfed! Unfortunately, I do realize this a bit too late, as before it clicks in my mind that Carboniferous is a free switch here, the lack of time pressures me into going into my physically defensive Iron Thorns and clicking the Tera button to hopefully set up a Dragon Dance and then KO a couple of Pokemon for free before going down. Fortunately, however, my opponent switches out, most likely predicting the Tera Flying type over Tera Electric due to the fact that I switched them in over Yanmega after the reveal of the Choice Scarf. So as a result, we get a free Dragon Dance off as my opponent switches into Ninetales, setting up the Sun and putting us in a pretty decent position all things considered. Also, side note, I personally love the nicknames of all the Pokemon being gym leaders related to each Pokemon's typings. After much debating, I decide to simply fire off a free Supercell Slam as my opponent ends up doubling into Venusaur, doing over half of her HP and making me wish we fired off a Stone Edge instead. After that, I decide to then fire off an Earthquake as it does the exact same amount of damage that a Supercell Slam does, and Venusaur goes for the Earth Power, dealing a massive chunk of damage to me as we manage to KO the overgrown frog. This ends up bringing Slither Wing back in, and this time my opponent opts to click the Tera button as well, revealing the Tera Fire type and confirming that this ancient bug is in fact scarfed, being able to finish what Venusaur started and KOing Iron Thorns. As a result, I send in my fire resistance, being Derp the Quagsire, and I opt to set up Stealth Rocks as my opponent ends up switching out into, surprisingly, Walking Wake. Considering Derp was literally built to 1v1 this behemoth, this is extremely optimal for us. We also gather critical information that Walking Wake is in fact a speed invested set due to photosynthesis, and the sunlight fades immediately after, which is quite nice for us. As a result, we are able to somewhat tank a Draco Meteor, losing half of our own HP but then getting it restored a bit due to our Citrus Berry, and we safely fire off a Toxic, putting Walking Wake on a timer and us in an amazing position, as Walking Wake is now severely weakened due to not just the poison but also their -2 special attack drop due to Draco Meteor. And as a result, I decide to try and go for game with Iron Crown. I send Titanium in as my opponent ends up swapping out and going into Ninetales. Not necessarily the most ideal, but possible to work around. As long as this Ninetales isn't choice specs or a major boosting item, we should be able to live in Overheat. So as a result, I fire off an Agility. And as it turns out, my opponent actually overpredicts me switching back into Derp the Quagsire and goes for a not very effective Solar Beam, all but sealing my opponent's fate as I click Agility. Now all I need to do is click Calm Mind, as that will guarantee I can live any hit that my opponent can throw at me, and with my opponent certainly knowing that, they end up swapping into Necrozma. But unfortunately for Lamb, this battle is all but over by this point. While Tachyon Cutter doesn't quite KO Necrozma the first time, Necrozma just simply fires off a Dragon Dance, and since we still outspeed due to our speed being at a +2, we're able to quickly fire off another Tachyon Cutter and put an end to the Prime Prism Pokemon while the harsh sunlight fades once again. Because of the sunlight fading, this brings Ninetales back in, taking even more damage from the rocks that Derp set up, as well as setting the sun back up as a last resort for my opponent's team to sweep. Unfortunately for the nine-tailed fox, thanks to the rocks chip, he is in range of a stored power, which meets its mark and KOs the mystical fox, leaving my opponent with just 2 Pokemon left. This brings Walking Wake back in, and as I'd later learn, my opponent actually put the Choice Scarf on this Pokemon too, so due to both the Photosynthesis boost as well as the Choice Scarf boost, the Primal Legendary Beast outspeeds and fires off a now super effective Weather Ball. And due to our +1 special defense, thanks to the Calm Mind we set up earlier, we can freely one-shot Walking Wake with a stored power, as well as the incoming Slither Wing, winning us the battle with a sound 4-0 sweep thanks to Titanium the Iron Crown. The professor was extremely happy with the results of this game, as what steel type have you heard of that could reliably sweep a Sun team? This also heavily redeems Iron Crown after their disastrous showing back during week 2. While I am extremely proud of Titanium for putting in all the work to improve to the point where they're now sweeping teams, it seems all the professor cares about is Iron Crown, quote, finally doing something right. Jeez, Professor. I really don't like how he speaks about these Pokemon sometimes. Regardless, that will be the end of this log. If you're still watching, thank you so much for your support. If you guys enjoyed this battle and want to see more, then leave a like, comment, and subscribe as it helps our research on these Iron Mons immensely. I would also like to shout out Laburrito's channel as well. Their channel and their side of the battle will be linked down below. Please be sure to check them out. GG's to them again, and I wish them luck for the rest of the season ahead. Also be sure to check out some of our other Draft League content for more battles from me. If you want to show support financially and earn some unique perks, then be sure to check out my Ko-Fi link down below as well. With that, this is the end of the log. See you all next week for our Week 6 game. Peace out, mates. Professor, I know you only care about the results, but seriously, Titanium really proved themselves in this battle. The least you can do is acknowledge that. Professor, they're not just your experiments and discoveries, they're actual Pokemon! Ugh, you know what? I've had enough of this conversation. Even if the professor's not proud of you, Titanium, I'm proud of you. And that's all that matters. Now let's get ready for our next game.